Welcome in again, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the R&D Sports Report. My name is Dishmond, and I am joined, as always, by Rylee. How's it going this afternoon?
Dude, I am doing spectacular.
So, right off the bat, when you go to listen to this, the first thing that you'll notice is that it's not dropping on its normal day. It'll actually drop here in just a couple hours. We're just a few hours away from dropping this. Little scheduling issues, but we wanted to make sure we didn't go this week without being able to give you our thoughts and, you know, maybe having a little fun in the process.
And we just love y'all. That's just plain old truth.
Well, and, you know, we'd done that a couple weeks ago where we had to miss. There was no way to get it, to schedule it, and there was one option this week, and so we had to jump on that option, and that's to sit down just a little later in the week and record this. So there's quite a bit to talk about. We got the start of NFL preseason. We have a little bit of news in the NBA schedule being unveiled. There's some news, in case you missed it, out of the NCAA regarding college basketball. There is, some other news in the NFL when it comes to a rather large free agent in Des Bryant. Quite a bit to talk about. And so where do we want to go first here, Rylee? Where I've got our list of things in each category, but I just can't decide which way to go with this, right? Which way to start, where to start.
Well, homie, I got you. Right off the bat. No, not because it's baseball season. Haha, puns for days.
Which, by the way, I'm watching Little League World Series as we do this.
Yup. Let's start off with the NFL preseason.
All right, so NFL preseason started last Thursday, which would be what was it, the second? What? Let's see. Yes, August the 2nd with the Hall of Fame game, where we got to see our first glimpse of what Lamar Jackson would look like in the NFL, how he would translate, and for the life of me, I've gone blank on who they were playing, but doesn't really matter. Out of that game, he's kind of the big point, and now we've been able to see him for a couple games, a couple preseason games here, but we got more of the NFL involved with this week's edition of... Ooh, sorry, I was watching this. Kid just ran into the fence trying to catch a foul ball. With this edition of the NFL preseason, the kind of official, really full week one of the preseason, we had Giants and the Browns. So, first off, let's start there real quick, because there's a couple high-profile rookies, right, coming into the league. The Browns have Baker Mayfield. The Giants have Saquon Barkley. And both showed that their future could be bright in the NFL. Now, I try to not get too caught up in the preseason, right? Obviously, we are playing preseason. But you can see glimpses of things, that you can see the glimpse of their ability. Right off the bat, Saquon Barkley, first touch of the game, goes for 40 yards, right? 39, I think, if you're wanting to be exact. Who cares?
If you're that kind of person, get out now. Just kidding, stay. We love you.
But, you saw that play. Yeah. What do you think, really, of Saquon A in that first touch. Like, that shows his ability, right? And the reason that they would have taken him at, 2 overall this past draft. So, thoughts, A, on that play from him, besides it just being, kind of miraculous on your first NFL touch.
People would say it's luck, and I can partially agree to that. But how I look at it is he has a lot of potential.
You say that some people might look at it and say it was luck, but you could say that, but at the same time, I completely disagree, because you watch that play, right? And anybody who watches that play, you see him make dudes miss. He's going at the line, that hole that's supposed to be open for him. It's not open. He makes a jump cut to the right, makes a dude miss, makes another cut back to the left, makes 2 dudes fall down, and then he's able to wiggle his way out and bust it up the seam. I think that potential for him, especially, that potential is always there. And that's what you have to kind of watch with a guy like Saquon Barkley, is he's able to, at some point, bust it. But at the same time, when he goes that rest of that game, he went, I think, had 4 more carries and went for 4 yards. Now, having said that, after 5 carries, that's still a heck of an average. But it's not so much for me running backs, and I heard this said elsewhere. It's about, A, are you durable, and B, can you over the long haul of game, right? You're not always going to bust that one, but he looked prepared to bust it when he has that opportunity, like he did. He said after the game he had issues kind of getting going again because he wasn't in the normal routine, which, once again, to me, it's preseason. What I really want to see is him in the regular season, and we're obviously a few weeks away. But that first glimpse, you go, Giants may really have helped themselves here. Last year I think they were almost at the end they were 26th or something like that. They were miserable in their run game. Heard earlier they hadn't had a 1,000-yard rusher since Ahmad Bradshaw, which that's been years for the Giants to have a 1,000-yard rusher. So that could change the offense, and it takes, honestly, a little pressure off Odell Beckham Jr. to just perform. I think that, for me, is the thing that the Giants have the most to look forward to, is if you can get that more of a balance between your passing and your running game.
Well, I think they relied on Odell to bring a lot of, I guess, glory, you could say, to the Giants, and I felt like they relied on him too much.
Well, it was, a combination between him and Eli, because, Eli's, for what you say, he's still a pretty good quarterback.
Right.
And to have this different dimension, you saw, even their offense, they had glimmers of being good, because Eli's a good quarterback, Odell's a really good receiver. You had a good running back in there, and, that makes a world of difference for teams. But, the other person in there was Baker Mayfield. He did not get the start for the Browns. Tyrod Taylor got the start. And, he went, I think it was 5 for 5 for 99 yards and a touchdown for Tyrod Taylor. So, not bad. I mean, if you're honestly fighting for that starting spot with Baker Mayfield.
Well, and that's what I like to see. I don't know about you, but that's what I like to see is competition for the spot, because that makes them both, 1, way better than their average, and 2, they have that drive, so they make themselves better,
Well, and it's not one of those things where
makes it more entertaining.
Well, and it makes it so that it's not just Baker Mayfield's job right off the bat.
Yeah.
When you're talking of Josh Allen in Buffalo, it's pretty much his job. You talk of Sam Darnold in New York. They have Teddy Bridgewater, who they can play. But at the same, when you draft a QB like that, you're expecting him to take over. Now, maybe he doesn't take over as immediately, as a guy like Baker Mayfield. But at the same time, if Tyrod Taylor's showing his potential, and you know with Tyrod Taylor that he can play in the NFL. He played with Buffalo, and he can get it done. So, but Barker makes a couple great scrambles, makes an excellent pass, and shows why the Browns may believe that he could be that next franchise quarterback for them.
I'd be surprised if they just won.
And make that joke all the time. If they win, and if they win, 2 games, that'll be an improvement for them.
No kidding.
You win more than 1 game, and you've already improved from last season. So their defense looked pretty good, but everything you almost have to take it with a grain of salt. Everything you see in the preseason, because there are guys who look like world beaters and just they're okay when it gets to the regular season.
Right.
But the other kind of big story, I guess, if you will, is that Andrew Luck returned after nearly missing 600 days of action in the NFL. The Colts they got their franchise quarterback back on the field for them after missing almost 600 days. And, we'll say he did look good. He looked healthy. He looked like he could to be able to play. And I think for the Colts, it's not one of those you're expecting to obviously contend this year with their roster. That's not really the expectation, but to basically be better than you were last year. And Andrew Luck, with him back, and if he's able to stay healthy all year, I'll be honest, that could lead them to a maybe borderline playoff team if they can put it together. I don't know if the talent's quite there.
I was gonna say it'd be like the Giants. They'd have to rely on Andrew like nothing.
Right. That's the thing is like you don't really know how the defense. Andrew Luck's healthy, but how healthy? He's supposed to be like 100%. But he took a hit last night on a scramble and he got up. And I don't know if you saw it, but dude was jacked. I think he was just excited to be playing football again. And I saw a quote along the way from him that there was a time that he thought football would be taken away from him, and so I can see where after missing almost 600 days, you'd be excited to be able to be back on the field and doing something that you love to do. Now, at least thankfully for him, he's got a Stanford education, so my man's not going to fail outside if he can't play football again. So, and at that, I believe his degrees in architecture, but not really important, but my man could succeed still. The other kind of rookie that's been making waves, and I know he's near and dear to your heart there, Rylee.
Yeah.
It is Lamar Jackson.
A.K.A. legend. I'm just kidding.
In Baltimore, and I'll be honest, and once again, prefacing all this with, yes, it is the preseason. Yes, he's getting a little extra time, and that's the thing for me. Like, even when I look at Baker Mayfield, he wasn't necessarily going up against the ones. He's going up against second string. So you kind of judge that too. But, I mean, Lamar Jackson's doing what he did in college and making dudes miss when he has to scramble. There was a play in their game last night. Pocket collapsed on him, and he just ran it in, making dudes miss, ran it in for the touchdown. It remains to be seen, though, with him, obviously, much like a Michael Vick, the question is the passing ability. And we've seen him already in the preseason try to hold in that pocket more and become more of, that passer type that can scramble. Unlike a guy like Michael Vick, who looked almost more to scramble and I don't know about you necessarily, but I always, when I played in Madden and I'd play with Michael Vick, I hardly ever looked to pass with that dude. I was always looking to run.
I don't blame you. One, running in any of the Madden games is fun. Just because if you juke somebody, you feel like
accomplished.
Right. It's so satisfying to juke somebody in a Madden game. I don't know if I ever played as Michael Vick. What team was he on? Like what
Did them in the Falcons. We may have to after this go play some.
Yeah. Wow, it's been a while, man.
Yeah,
I must have played it when I was a little bit younger. Anyways, Either way, I'm sure that was fun because I love. Who is it? Might have been your boy Andrew Luck, but I ran with somebody.
It wasn't RG3, was it?
It might have been RG3. It might have been RG3. I'm not too sure. Speaking of,
he's on the Ravens as well.
Right. Speaking of that, just like we were talking about competition with Baker Mayfield and is it Tyrod? Or is it Tyron?
I think it's Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod.
All right. Well, with Tyrod Taylor, right? It's the same with RG3 and Lamar. I forgot that RG3 was on the Ravens, so I was like, "Who is that? Oh my God, that's RG3."
Well, when I think it even helps, even a guy like Joe Flacco, as you said, that competition, because Joe Flacco's job isn't exactly safe.
No.
If he starts to struggle, because you're going to have those Baltimore fans either crying for RG3 or a guy like Lamar Jackson, especially if that offense is struggling. I don't doubt them, those fans crying for a guy like Lamar Jackson who can spark an entire offense because you have to pay so much attention to him at quarterback. So, Joe Flacco better step up his game or he's going to get replaced.
Even then, you got to think of how many injuries for quarterbacks that come in the season. So, Ravens don't have a worry about quarterbacks. They got, I wouldn't say Lamar's great.
Well, no, but
he's good enough to compete at least.
The only problem really necessarily with the Ravens backups, I think, if Flacco goes down, you have a guy in RG3 who appears to be injury prone, right? And we've seen him be able to actually play in the NFL. Those first couple years he was sensational. But once again, injury prone. And then you have Lamar Jackson, who you see in preseason, but in regular season, let's be honest, he is still unproven.
Yeah.
And does run it, so that that's where we've seen RG3 get injured as well. So you have some security. I think if you're the Ravens, you go, okay, if Flacco goes down, we've got two dudes we believe in, and both we believe can do just as well. But at the same time, you're kind of like, okay, if Flacco goes down, what do we have? Right. You're debating because it's like, okay, which RG3 is this one? And then it's, can Lamar Jackson do what we think he can?
Right.
I believe he can. The thing for him is going to see how that passing progresses.
Well, yeah, and even though he did pass at U of L, he was more of a scrambler more than a passer. I know.
Well, no, but I'm saying he still, I think, completed somewhere around 60% of his passes, which is pretty good still for a quarterback and kind of the range that you look at of completing. But, it's one of those things, deep bomb-wise, I know he's got an arm, but the accuracy, that's, I think, where he's got his more issues is the accuracy. But
oh, yeah, I would agree. I don't know if you saw the highlight, but he had thrown a pass. I don't remember which wide receiver it was, but he threw a pass. It was probably about 30 to 40 yards, and he caught it and went down. I don't know who it was, but the wide receiver was good enough to catch it because there was three guys on him, one in his back, one on the right and left, and he caught it. So I see an improvement, but then again, he's still got to go up against RG3. I'm interested in seeing how that goes because I did watch RG3 as well, and he's looking very, very well.
Well, and I think we saw this glimpse of RG3 in Cleveland. He looked like a different player.
Yeah.
He didn't look as explosive as he did in Washington, but at the same time, he looked like he was a little bit more, I guess, set for the NFL, if you will. We see, obviously with the NFL, when Baltimore goes to play, if they play a team like the Texans, guy like J.J. Watt's chasing you, it's not exactly the same as some dude from, give me a random college that you can think of.
LSU.
It's a little bit, not quite mine. Let's see. Kent State. How about we go with that? Well, no, and here's what I'm saying. Like,
fam.
Well, but, college teams always play.
Kent State trash. I'm just kidding.
Well, and that's somewhat my point is.
Oh, so you wanted someone trash. Oh, okay. I
yeah.
named off plenty.
Someone from Kent State chasing a dude like Lamar Jackson, right? You obviously see the talent discrepancy between a team like U of L and a Kent State.
Yeah.
Where when you go, Baltimore Ravens versus the Texans, there's not going to be a whole lot of talent discrepancy there. These are the best of the best, and that's the thing I think for me is I believe Lamar Jackson can succeed. The accuracy, the passing, like that game he has to work on, much like a lot of quarterbacks coming out of college do. And being, I guess, more patient instead of automatically just scrambling, because I think that's the thing he kind of got into at U of L. They had some, offensive line issues at time, and dude was running for his life. Now, he made highlight plays, but he was running for his life at that point. But part of me, like, I want him to almost start the season just so I can see him against, the top of the defensive depth charts. To see how he does passing against guys like the Honey Badger, Richard Sherman, even like an Aqib Talib, the top flight, cornerbacks, especially safeties, Earl Thomas, whatever it is, to see how his passing, because that's the thing within the NFL, those windows for passes get tighter.
Oh yeah.
Can he hit those tighter windows, and even for a guy like Baker Mayfield, that's his questions too. Both of them can make highlight plays on the run. And you saw, last night with Baker Mayfield, hits a dude in the end zone, lofts it to him just perfectly when he's got three dudes around him. So,
yeah, people just gotta remember they're new.
Well, and I think it's they're new, and this is still the preseason, and you try not to get too hyped off of it, but it's almost one of those things. It's hard not for me to get hyped when you haven't had the NFL, for so long, football in general for so long. You're like, yeah, football's back. Like, I almost started watching some CFL the other day. But I didn't, for the
Canada
record.
Football League, is that it?
Yeah, Canadian Football League. Yeah, I think.
Did you watch
Johnny
Man?
Yeah. That was actually the reason I was kind of watching some of it, is they had him on it.
Dude, I'm about done with that whole Johnny Manziel problem. Now, I'm not trying to go to Johnny Manziel. I'm just saying, while we were on that topic, I'm about done.
Well, and that's a perfect example of a dude, it lit it up in college. A lot of it highlight plays with his legs, obviously, his scrambling abilities. His off-the-field issues, what really hurt him in the NFL. But at the same time, passing wasn't that great. So it's the same as mobile quarterbacks like Baker Mayfield, like Lamar Jackson. Can they work into being more of an NFL-type passer? You see guys like Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, even Josh Rosen are seen to be more of the typical NFL quarterback, because they're especially with Josh Allen and Sam Darnold, they're bigger, right? Not as mobile. So, you look at like Tom Brady, arguably the greatest of all time. Not mobile at all, but he's a heck of a passer. He's able to move a little bit, but, dudes like Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield, they can literally change the game.
Well,
Much the way Michael Vick, when he came into the league, changed the game.
Right. Well, Tom Brady's more of a Peyton Manning kind of style of player. He's a great passer. That's just there's quarterbacks like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning where all they do is throw.
Well, and for Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, right, they knew how to move within that pocket
Right.
to avoid the sack. And I think that's for Baker Mayfield and especially for Lamar, like, to just maybe move sometimes instead of scramble.
Oh, I agree.
Because, when you talk about level of difficulty, this is the top, right? This is as hard as you can play. If you take it to a video game reference, right? This is the hardest version of the game you can play.
I just can't wait to play with Lamar and like juke people.
Well, and see, that's the thing is, like, I would play with him in Madden and just run. Like, I think I'd set up for a pass and I'd just run.
Right.
But
especially if you get a huge pocket.
Well, you get like I was playing it. I was playing Madden 18 the other day, and I had created my own quarterback, and he was a mobile quarterback. I'd run 4 verticals and just send dudes down the field, and I'd drop back and just wait for a big patch to open up, and I just
dart it.
I just ran.
I don't blame you. That is so much fun, and may I say, very satisfying, especially when you get so many yards.
Oh, I agree. Especially like when you're running for like 15 yards at a time.
Then you feel accomplished, and you're like, yeah, let's go.
Exactly. And I'm like, I can't do that in real life, but I feel good here.
Yep. Love this couch.
But while we're on the subject of Madden 19, as you know, if you've listened a few times, Rylee and I like to talk every now and then about some video games. Both of us enjoy playing them, and especially the sports ones. And we'll talk here a little bit about Madden 19, but a few issues that appear to need to be worked out a little bit. The first one I saw right before we sat down, and I showed it to you because I hadn't seen it yet, is the commentary needs a little fixing. Because even though at the top of the screen it talked about the Los Angeles Chargers, they made it sound like they were in San Diego because they were talking about the beautiful day in San Diego.
Well, go San Diego. Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's like, does Madden know something we all don't know? But
dude, I might have to go home and look at that, bro. You just made me like think about some things.
But you see that. I'm excited, and I honestly believe that games like Madden, like NBA 2K, like NBA Live, help a brand like the NBA and the NFL a lot more than people realize. Some people be like, oh, it's just a dumb video game. Yeah, but at the same time, it helps to familiarize you with different people on different teams and this and that. Especially if you're playing at random like you and I do. A lot of times we'll random teams and play with whoever. You get to know, the different people. There are some people who may not know who Shaq Griffin is on the Seahawks. But if he's able to make the team and play, as he's been playing pretty well in the preseason, you may learn who he is when you select him on the defense, playing for the Seahawks.
I just hope they don't put a hand on him. That'd be so
I don't think they
jacked
would.
up. I know, but I'm like...
Well, it's one of those you can see...
Now, I'm not like making fun of him or nothing because
no, I understand what you're...
I'm just saying I hope they don't mess it up. Otherwise, they're in big trouble.
Well, they will, and they'll catch a lot of flack if they ended up doing something like that to him because, we've seen it in the past where glitches have happened, like dudes have like all the same face and this and that. It's one of those things... We haven't seen a guy really like this in the NFL. So, if they put a hand on him, that would be awful. I think they would be very careful not to. But yeah, it would. I mean, it would cause an issue because,
well, especially when a guy like that is trying to make awareness for. That I don't remember if he has a disease or what happened.
Yeah, I think his hand didn't because it's just literally like pretty much his hand is not there. I think his hand didn't develop, if I remember correctly, at birth and all. Like his hand didn't fully develop.
Either way, I hope they don't do that, and I'm laughing because that is Shaq's up. Why would you do that?
Well, it's one of those things. I guess if you're a developer, you just automatically think to give people two hands.
Well, yeah.
But that's where the people in the production part that you go, hey, we have an issue here.
Hey, don't publish that yet.
Well, and that's the thing is like you apparently missed the issue with calling the Chargers from San Diego.
Yeah, if it's that bad.
If you have that issue, that could be a big issue. But the other one I saw was Le'Veon Bell. Like all of a sudden glitched out, and the best part is Le'Veon Bell was saw it, was playing it. It was like he knows he ain't even that fast because my man was gone. He was gone. He was at the line, and all of a sudden he was like at the 15 of the opponent.
He glitched so fast. That was ridiculous.
But I can't wait for that to come out.
Is it just like a beta, or did certain players?
I don't know. I didn't happen to see it. It might be just a beta out on it.
Okay.
But at the same time, you see, and if you troll through our Twitter, you can find people giving away different codes, in giveaways, and Madden, if you're looking to give a few codes away,
help a brother out.
Let us know, and
please.
We'll help you give some of those codes away, barring you give us a couple codes ourselves.
Yeah.
But that I think it all comes together. The preseason, Madden getting ready to come out, and you see all the stuff dropping,
sorry to interrupt. Madden 19 Standard Edition will be released on Friday, August 10th, 2018. So it's out.
That's today.
Yeah, it's out.
Oh, okay.
It's out today.
I thought it released a little later.
Yeah. So Madden.
Well, now I feel dumb.
If you love your boy, not Dishmond, me, Rylee. Yep.
Either one.
Yeah. No. No. This guy right here, guy that's talking. Yeah, Rylee. You can at me, at Rylee _R&D Sports. Come at me. You can DM me a code. I'll maybe help a few people out. You just got to help a brother out first. All right. Other than that, I love you.
Yeah. Either one of us will be happy to have a contest for you. To help you give away some codes, but the caveat is you got to let us in first. But with that being said, I think it helps the Madden hype, NFL preseason. Like, it just gets you geared up. And college starts at the end of the month. I think first games start the 30th of August. As I was watching NCAA basketball, if you noticed on my Twitter the other day, right? Yeah, I was watching college basketball in August, which it just helps overall. Like I just never want this to stop with the sports to just keep rolling in whatever it is. ESPN the other day had ESPN 8 the Ocho on August the 8th. I believe it. Well, I think it started with Dodgeball the movie, and then it ended up ending with Dodgeball the movie. But I also did watch actual Dodgeball on ESPN 8 the Ocho, aka ESPN 2.
Did they have the trampoline Dodgeball?
No, this was like
Dodgeball?
National level Dodgeball.
Okay.
My dudes were serious. And it was quick pace, and I was like, hey, I couldn't even get out of the way of those.
No.
If I'm being honest, I wouldn't have been able to move out of the way of many of those, and let alone some dudes were like jumping out of the court there that they were playing on. But I got hung up watching random sports I was watching one. For the life of me, I can't remember what it's called now. But it, I felt like I was watching soccer and volleyball fused together. It was really odd, but I couldn't turn it off. And days like that, I love watching ESPN 8 the Ocho, just to be able to see things like that, to see the different things. And moxie games. I don't even know what that was, but guys were doing bicycle kicks over a net, and I was into it. So, which tells you how much I just jones for having sports on. WNBA's on, and if I'm on flipping through, I'll end up watching that as well. So really, when you're even talking about the moxie games, I have no idea what they are, but I was watching. So with that, let's move on here to the NBA, as we were just talking about the NFL and Madden. We're going to move into the NBA releasing their schedule recently. The other day they dropped their highlighted games, and then they ended up dropping the entire schedule. But we're obviously not going to go through the entire schedule. But some old rivalries renewed here in 2018-2019 season coming up. Opening night, October 16th, which I'm just like, it doesn't seem that far away, but I can't wait at the same time.
Is that preseason or like actual?
That is the actual season. So preseason will start a little bit before that. So
wow,
we're close. We're close.
Wow.
But it tips with a face-off of what appears to be the two top teams in the East. With Philadelphia going to TD Garden and then Boston to face the Celtics, where they should have Kyrie and Gordon Hayward back. Tip-offs at 8. How excited are you to see a game like that caliber right off the bat?
I'm so excited. I'm trying to contain my excitement. Because if it were up to me and this mic wasn't here, I'd jump up and down, do a backflip. I just can't do a backflip. I would do a front flip. Joking, I can't do that either. Probably break my neck. But you get the point. I'm excited. I'm very excited, and I'm so ready for the NBA season. And another thing, LBJ. I'm excited.
Oh, we're gonna get there because the Cleveland Plain Dealer had some stuff there. But later that night, the other game on that doubleheader on TNT is the OKC Thunder versus Golden State Warriors. So you're kicking off two really good games.
Oh yeah. You mean OKC with a W? Is that what you said?
No.
Whatever.
But the other announcements. So for that game, it'll be ring night for the Warriors, obviously, on opening night, and they also released some of the Martin Luther King Jr. days, the Christmas days, and the list. ESPN kicks off with their coverage on October 17th. So day right after, obviously, TNT has their doubleheader. You start with the Pelicans traveling to the Houston Rockets, which, as if anybody's paying attention, Melo verbally said he's going to Houston, so you add another weapon, I guess, if you want to call it. In that offense, Melo's ability to score can be viewed as a weapon.
You mean they added another trash bag? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm excited to see what they do. As much as I'm not a huge fan of Carmelo right now, I'm excited to see what they do and how they work because of three ball hoggers just throwing.
Well, and you make a good point there. Three dudes who like the ball in their hand, but for Melo, he's got a guard in Chris Paul who, if Melo runs the court and literally can space himself and get open, Chris Paul can get you the ball.
I was gonna say he's more of an assist type like John Stockton or Magic.
But the second game there for ESPN there on the 17th is a battle of high-profile rookies because it's the Phoenix Suns with DeAndre Ayton taking on the Dallas Mavericks with Luka Doncic. So, the game itself I'm maybe not as excited for. Looking to see how they play. The rookies, a little bit more excited. I don't know if that's a strong nightcap there, but it should be interesting nonetheless. I'm not going to scroll really through all the games that will happen kind of that first weekend. But I do want to where are we? To Christmas Day. Some great games scheduled for Christmas Day. So you'll know where to find me, which is plastered in front of the TV after I've filled my stomach up.
With eggnog and everything else in my hand. I'm talking
some
cookies,
eggnog. I've already had my breakfast.
Chocolate milk, biscuits and gravy. I mean, the whole bunch. Dude.
I might sleep through the first couple games because I'm going to be so full.
Exactly.
But at the same time, it's going to be hard to stay asleep when you have the Bucks traveling to the New York Knicks.
Don't forget about
as
Porzingis.
The starting game.
Don't forget about Porzingis.
And you say that, Porzingis may be able to make it back by then, by Christmas. I think that'll probably be a little bit of a stretch, but he could be back by Christmas. So you might have Giannis and Porzingis playing against each other.
That'd be awesome.
Then you have the Thunder Rockets. Once again, should be a great game.
I'm gonna smash the beard.
With Melo making his kind of return, I guess, if you will, here against the Thunder, and they might play again before that, but I haven't looked at the entire schedule, to be honest. Once again, another round, Sixers, Celtics in Boston, 5:30 ABC,
Ooh.
Christmas Day.
Dude. I don't know what I'm more excited for, Christmas Day or the actual games.
Exactly. And then you have the big marquee primetime matchup, the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Golden State Warriors at Golden State. That's your primetime matchup at 8 on ESPN. LeBron in the West. And going there to Golden State, a guy like DeMarcus Cousins. Once again, you talked about Porzingis. He could be back for this Christmas Day game. Probably not going to happen, but dude's working hard to get back, even for the start of the season. For one,
I'm just saying. You said something about we were talking about Christmas Day, and then I thought Thanksgiving is before that, bro.
NFL football Thanksgiving. See,
exactly.
There we go.
We're gonna be full, fat, and sitting down watching TV. Oh, it's gonna be so good, bro. Because I imagine sitting on my couch or chair, whatever it may be, chilling, watching football, basketball, playing video games. Oh my gosh! We're gonna have so much fun.
The nightcap, and see here's where I know you'll get no sleep this night, is because the nightcap is the Trailblazers versus the Jazz.
Let's go!
So you're talking, a lot of good games there on Christmas Day that'll keep you satisfied from the noon tip all the way to the 10:30 tip on Christmas Day. So the other kind of triple header day that they do, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which you get the Pelicans at the Grizzlies, which is kind of okay, But then you have the Rockets and the 76ers.
That should be good.
That should be a good matchup.
That should be very
in all honesty, a possible finals matchup. If you're being, the 76ers a chance to come out of the East. The Rockets came close last year, may not be able to do the same.
I just want the Celtics to win a championship.
Well, and I want to get to that because Jaylen Brown made some comments on that. But then again, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, you get the Warriors this time at the Los Angeles Lakers in Staples Center. for the late game there. I can't tell you how excited I was when I saw just even these marquee games, and since you can go see the entire schedule release for all the NBA teams. But when I saw those key games, I was like, it is getting so close.
Yeah.
It is about to become full-fledged sports season, if you will.
Well, and believe me when I say...
You get the NFL back, you get college football back, you get NBA back in October, then you go a little bit more, you get college basketball, even though we're getting it right now. You can watch Kentucky in the Bahamas, you can watch Duke in Canada. I think Notre Dame's also in the Bahamas. There are some other teams. There's a team, I believe, over in Italy. There's the possibility to watch some college basketball here.
And believe me when I say, you blink, and I promise Christmas will be here, bro.
Which I'm okay with.
Exactly.
Because I got all these games to watch.
I just want eggnog.
I got you, fam.
Dude, I love you, bro. Love you, man.
But...
No homo.
Back to Jaylen Brown's comments, and of course it goes away now. And his confidence here for the Celtics, and I think it's very justified. But this is Jaylen Brown talking about going to the NBA Finals with LeBron now being in LA, and he said, we're going to the Finals, no questions about it. Now, do you like his confidence in, or is it maybe just a bit too much and puts too much pressure on the Celtics?
No. I feel like having that confidence going into the season, having confidence hopefully would build you up. Now, other people may have a different opinion on that, meaning more confidence, more pressure, and I could partially agree to that. But I feel like if you got more confidence, the more power, the more energy, the more drive that you have. So I think with Jaylen Brown talking like that, especially him not being the main star of the team, kind of gives me confidence that they'll do well this year.
So if you were one of his teammates, though, do you like that pressure being put on? Does it add too much pressure? You going, look, man, we know we were the best in the East, but now you're going to put this pressure on us to actually be the best in the East, or do you think it's really not maybe a huge deal because they're all just kind of obviously striving to get to the finals each and every year?
Well, as always, the media always blows everything up. So if I was his teammate, I'd probably tell him to calm down a little bit, chill out. Just because media can blow it out of the water.
And construe it into a different way, right?
Right. And I think with Jaylen Brown saying all that, as a teammate, I'd be like, I hope you can kind of give us that confidence that you have, and let's go get a championship this year. That's just me personally. Other people, again, will probably have a different opinion. What's your opinion on it? If you were his teammate, what would you say? I know the whole media thing you'd probably agree with.
I do. It's one of those my man, I love your confidence. But for me personally, I'd rather just let the play talk.
Right.
Let the play talk, not your mouth talk.
I agree.
Let's show them on the court, because in all honesty, we should have been there last year. And yeah, without LeBron, now we should be there. And people assume we should be there. So we don't need to talk. You don't see the Warriors, honestly, going out there and going, yeah, we should win the East or the West, no question about it, right? You see them go out there and more, some of it's because they've been there, but they let their play do the talking and get it done. But I like the confidence there. On the other hand, when we were talking about the games that are upcoming, when the full schedule got released here, the Cleveland, the plain dealer there in Cleveland had a interesting headline, if you will, and it's obviously centered around LeBron's return to Cleveland, and here's the headline: Lonzo Ball and the Lakers at the Q on November 21st. And then right under it says former Cav James also expected to play. Like,
are they throwing shade?
Well, see, I think it's a little shade, a little bit of a jab. At the same time, maybe trying to be a little funny, I guess. I don't know. I think, honestly, it's a little more shade, jab, punch.
Again, media blowing it out of the water.
But I did think interesting headline there for the Cleveland Plain Dealer, and kind of got to give him a little props on you. Like, you don't say, the headline isn't LeBron James makes debut. It's Lonzo and the Lakers, coming to the Q on the 21st. But with that, I do want to get into a little bit of something you and I had talked about a little bit on the other hand of NBA 2K. Recently, we've had NBA Live 19 release some of their ratings and some gameplay footage. It's coming out, I believe, September the 7th is its release. But obviously got to give you a little time here, Rylee, to talk about this, since we gave you a little time on NBA 2K to speak of the ratings for different players and your thoughts. And I knew you had missed this and hadn't seen it when I didn't see it on my Twitter feed. But I'm sure you're going to make up for it when we get done recording this, and who knows, you may have been sitting over there making up for it now. But let's have it. Your thoughts here on NBA Live 19, and I'll join in here every now and then with you.
First off, I want to say that I'm very excited for NBA 2K Live. Or 2K night, not 2K. Jesus, NBA 19 Live.
NBA Live 19.
You know what I meant. Fight me. Good grief. Some expert I am.
And as you say that, when you're talking of the NFL, there's one game. It's Madden.
Right. Well,
when you're talking the NBA, there's 2K19, there's NBA Live 19.
Well, yeah, and I got myself mixed
honestly,
up.
for the longest time, it was, Live had kind of taken that dip, and I think honestly even a hiatus, and it was just 2K. But now I think NBA Live 19 is making a comeback at 2K. But anyways, let's go ahead and have your thoughts on NBA Live 19.
Yeah, forgive me. We'd been talking about Madden and then 2K, and then we went, because when you first started off the conversation, you said NBA 2K, and I don't know, my brain processed it weird. Anyways, I'm excited for it. I'm very excited. I do plan on buying it, hopefully, depending on how money goes, of course. But with the ratings, I was really surprised.
Or once again, if anybody wants to give either of us code, just throwing that out there.
Exactly.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was kind of surprised with the ratings from 2K to Live. And at first, like, for example, Trae Young on NBA 2K is 77 overall. His rating on Live is 81. Now, let me ask you, what are your thoughts on that? Meaning, like, because of his play, what do you think about that?
Honest, like,
do you agree with the 81?
I think there's so much of a difference in the two of them that it makes me kind of question both of them, honestly. I feel that the NBA Live, especially him coming in as a rookie, we know the man that it can shoot the lights out, but at the same time, we know he kind of struggles defensively. Honestly, if it were me, I'd probably split that difference, hit it right in the middle at 79, and I think that's a good fit for the rookie coming in. 77, I felt was maybe a little low, disrespectful for 2K. At the same time, you got to prove yourself, young man, in a new league. Just as we were talking about Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield a minute ago, like, you got to prove yourself. And same thing goes for the NBA. Like, this is a bigger jump.
I totally agree with you on that. I did comment on Twitter again, Rylee_R&D Sports, on Trae Young. I think it's funny what I said. Let me go back here and look at what I said. I think it's funny too because my response was just downright hilarious. But I said, where is it at? There we go. Okay, so Trae Young had commented on his 2K rating, not live rating, but 2K, which again is a 77 overall. He said, "My whole life I've been underrated. This ain't nothing new." Now, I retweeted it with a comment and said, "Bro, you are a rookie. You haven't even had the chance to really prove yourself, so chill." And to be honest with you, he hasn't. He I don't even know how many games he played. He probably played, 2, 3 at most this season or this preseason.
Well, he would have played some summer league.
Yeah,
and we saw him there.
Yeah, that's the only way I saw him. But I guess we could start off with the best point guards in live right now. Let's see if I can find it real quick because I couldn't remember where I found it. Here it is. All right, so we have, if it'll load, we have Steph Curry coming in at number 1 with a 94 overall. We have Russell Westbrook coming in with 93 as a second. And for third, we have Kyrie Irving coming in at 93. And Chris Paul at the fourth coming in at 92. And I was surprised by this one. John Wall coming in at a 90 in fifth place. Now, the only reason I say surprised is John Wall's made a name for himself. I just never expected him to be one of the top 5s.
Well, I think for a guy like John Wall, this past season, he had the highest percentage of three-pointers that he's made this past season. So, to me, it's one of those things where I think they've seen a little bit of improvement on his game and expect him to keep improving. And he's so good at taking you off the dribble and defensively that I think it helps where a guy like Steph Curry, has such a great shooting rating, he does, but probably has a little bit worse defensive rating compared to a guy like John Wall.
I would agree. If I had to substitute John Wall, I'd probably be Damian Lillard.
And I would be interested to see how close maybe those are. Damian could be 89. Like an 89.
Yeah.
But I will say, especially with the guards, to me, what was Steph was a 94, yeah. Right? Part of me I feel like, especially for the point guards, their ratings were pretty fair.
Yeah.
And a little more accurate, I think, than some of the 2K ratings were.
Oh, I would definitely agree with that. All right, let's see. So, since we have already covered Chris Paul, one of the newest or the oldest ones that they've posted, let's cover James Harden. He's coming in at a 94 rating. I find that reasonable. I mean, if anything, a 92. At most. Kevin Durant coming in at 95.
Yeah.
96. It's reasonable. I would say 96.
I would agree. I think 96, and I think is that maybe what he is in 2K. I can't remember. He's a 96 or 97, I think, in 2K.
Speaking of 97, as you mentioned earlier to me, which I did not know, you said LBJ, LeBron James, is a 97 overall rating?
Yes.
Okay. Which
he's
kind of surprised by.
He's a 98 in 2K, so not a whole lot of difference. But it's still one of those it's almost kind of funny games that are similar how different their ratings can be.
Yeah, right. Draymond Green, I was surprised by this one a little bit too. 88 overall. I would say 89, but I don't like Draymond, so you could put him at a 64.
What was he at?
88.
See, I would maybe say 89, but I feel like 88's.
Or
I think if his
8.
I think if his 3-point shooting increased a little bit more, percentage wise, was better. It definitely would be something that could help him.
Well, with all the posts that they do, like when they posted James Harden, they did do like top 5 shooting guards, which I'm probably not going to cover right now because we are slowly starting to end. But I will finish the ones that they did post. Joel Embiid coming at a 92 overall. I find that reasonable. If anything, a 90, 91, one of those two. But other than that, that is it. I could look at the 5, but I think we'll cover that on another episode.
All right, so kind of the last matter of business to touch on is going back to Wednesday, when originally we would sit down normally to do this. Some big news broke from the NCAA that they were changing rules in college basketball, and to me, it's one of those things. I'm glad we had the time to be able to record this a little bit later, because it gives you more time to analyze. You know, if you look at the quick hitting things that kind of come out of this, and I just want to kind of read just the headlines real quick of these. Just, you know, if you're just reading them, you've got extended scholarships, meaning that the Division I schools are required to pay for books, tuition, fees for basketball players who leave and later return to earn their degree. And so the next one, you know, high school players can be represented now by an agent that will be certified by the NCAA. You know, there can be some agents representing for college players. And if you don't get drafted, you can come back to your college team. So right off the bat, you look at those and you go, okay, they're making some changes here. We see some changes. But to me, when you kind of look at the bare bones of it, you go, there's really nothing you did here. Besides possibly screwing up other levels of basketball.
And getting an agent in high school, that's
well, and the thing is, as you mentioned that one, we can start there. Getting an agent to represent high school players, now it's not all high school players. Let's be clear on that. It's the elite, right? And so you go, okay, well, if it's the elite, who determines the elite? Well, apparently it's USA Basketball is to identify those players as elite.
See, now that's opinion-based. That's not right.
It is.
Right.
Here's also the other thing. According to Adrian Wojnarowski, the USA Basketball and NBA were like, what? They knew of nothing of this.
Then who changed the rules?
This is the NCAA's rules.
What?
And so
you got to inform.
This is, you know, and the thing that kills me is when you say, okay, we're going to allow elite high school seniors, you know, if and when the NBA ends its one and done rule, to be represented by agents for only the elite high school, but USA Basketball is going to determine that. USA Basketball goes, we never said we were doing that. USA Basketball apparently doesn't believe it has the infrastructure to manage this process. So it's like, okay, you're going to do it even though we know you can't do it, right? That's like me going, okay, Rylee, you're going to manage that 500-pound barbell over there and move it to where I need you to go. Even though knowing you can't move the 500-pound barbell.
So, dude, that's... I feel like they were just bored, and they were like, you know what? This is what we're going to do. And I'm just saying, if you look at it that way, that's how it looks.
Well, and here's my thing, and the story here on Bleacher Report talks about it too. If this really is to try and kind of clean up the game, because, you know, we had this whole FBI agents, you know, shoe deals and all that, then why would you do USA Basketball, who is tightly associated with Nike, to determine who the elite players are? You know, like, To me, that makes no sense. You're going to tell me that a shoe company tightly associated with USA Basketball could have a role in determining who the elite players are and the agents represent. Come on now, we're not thinking everything through here.
They're jumping too quick. They're jumping too quick to do things. It just needs to be simple. You go to college. The whole one and done situation, I'm about done with that. I'll bring up a comment that Stephen A. Smith said, which I'll get to in a second. But I'm so done with them trying to change things. Just leave it simple as it was.
Well, they're trying to change
college.
it, obviously, for the better. And some of these I'm going, okay, that sounds good. But here's the thing. If USA Basketball is determining the elite players, a guy like R.J. Barrett, who ended up becoming the number one incoming freshman, going to Duke, he wouldn't have been able to be represented under these new rules if USA Basketball has to select, because he's Canadian-born. He's not playing for USA Basketball. The other thing to me is college players being able to be represented between seasons. Somewhat makes a little sense to me because they apparently could be able to receive meals, lodging, transportation from their agent, which most agents do for people who are going to the NBA draft. But it's this whole infrastructure, it's not set up there, and to just announce this off without having in place is like saying, I'm going to go build a house across in this field, but you don't have the plans to build the house. I'm just going to wing it. That's to me somewhat of what these NCAA rules were.
Agreed.
The other thing to me is the extended scholarships. I think this is really kind of the most impactful one, because in 2019 it's going to start that Division I schools will be required to pay the tuitions, fees, books for basketball players who leave school and return later to the same school to earn their degree. Now, there are certain parameters which this applies. It is to student athletes who they were in school for 2 years and they decided to return within 10 years. But here's the thing. In the one-and-done era, who's staying 2 years, So if you stay 1 year, you don't get it. Now, having said that, there are a lot of Power 5 conferences that already offer these lifetime scholarships. If you ever hear anything from one of the kind of biggest names really within the one-and-done era, from John Calipari, right? You always hear him talk about having a lifetime scholarship for the players to come back and have school. Now, to me, if you've been able to make it in the NBA, you probably don't really need the lifetime scholarship. But it's also apparently worked where guys like a John Wall, as we talked about earlier, come back and worked a little bit. But this is probably more helpful to the non-Power 5 schools, the non-Power 5 conference schools. But to me, there are some reasons that kids could leave schools, but having to stay for 2 years seems like it just doesn't maybe work with the rule. But the last one here that I really kind of want to get your thoughts on here, Rylee, these undrafted players. They can come back to school. Now, see, this seems pretty common sense, right? If you don't get drafted, you should be able to come back. And the way that this really could go is that, if you have remaining eligibility, so if you didn't maybe take an agent, you go undrafted in the NBA draft, you can return within, maybe 2 weeks of going undrafted. But the way the NCAA has done it, they've narrowed the potential pool of players in the NBA draft combine and gives them only 4 days to decide. Now, to me, you just went through maybe one of the most shocking things where you thought you were going to get drafted, right? And you don't. Well, now you have 4 days to make up your mind. Do I think I can prove it, sign a free agent deal with a team, and go play pro ball? Or do I go back to, you got 4 days to decide. I just don't think that time frame is long enough for these players.
Well, you have to think of the factors that are going on, right? You've got this dream of going into NBA or NFL or NBA, sorry, in NBA, right? And your dreams get crushed instantly. You're not getting drafted. You're dealing with the stress of I'm failing, I didn't succeed, because not everybody succeeds. And I think it's ridiculous how you can go under so much stress and heartache, whatever it may be, even heck depression, and then you're gonna give them 4 days. You're messing with somebody's life. Now, did you say that if they don't decide in 4 days they can't go back to school?
Pretty much. Yeah.
No. See that now that's ridiculous.
Yeah, you have 4 days to decide to come back after the draft. But I do want to make a note here. With this, you're talking about people who participated in the NBA draft combine. You're not talking about these dudes who didn't get an invite, who then didn't get drafted because maybe they were fed bad information by someone trying to lead them. They maybe were misinformed with this decision going to the NBA, because there would have only been 5 players that this applied to this past season. 5 players. Trayvon Duval from Duke, Malik Newman from Kansas, Brandon McCoy from UNLV, Alonzo Trier from Arizona, and Raleigh Hawkins from Arizona. They would have been able to go back because they got NBA draft combine invites. The question is, what about these dudes who don't get that? And the problem is the ones who don't, attend. If you didn't attend the draft combine, you probably should have come back. But if you didn't attend the draft combine, you thought you had a chance, and you were maybe fed some bad information. Well, now you're stuck, right?
Yeah.
You can't go back to college. The issue there might be flooding the draft. But here's the other thing. What happens to those schools? Because under this rule, you can only go back to your same school. So, if we take a Duke in Kentucky, right? How long are they going to wait for people to come back? Trayvon Duval from Duke. How long would Coach K have sat and waited for him to come back before trying to find a recruit to replace him? You have to think of when this is happening in June, right? The NBA draft happening in June. Well, here we are at the first part of August. Some teams are taking their once every 4 year summer trip, much like Kentucky and Duke are doing this year. John Calipari had comments on Paul Feinbaum's show speaking to this, and he goes, basically, what if we give their scholarship away? Then they don't have a scholarship to come back to. And then the other thought is, well, okay, if they come back, so if somebody leaves Duke, let's say, right, comes back to Duke, well, there's not a scholarship there. Well, now I can transfer somewhere else, but I got to sit out of here. So is this really helping? Is this really beneficial? When you're talking about if you just go to the NBA draft combine and you only get 4 days to decide, one, and number two, it would only apply to 5 players. Is that rule really worth it if you can only apply it to just a handful of 5 players in this past year? Is it actually worth it? Doesn't make any sense.
No, not at all.
The window obviously would need to be extended, and to me, I
say 2 to 3 weeks.
Well, because here's the thing: Summer League. How quick is it right after the NBA draft? A lot of people can get 2-way contracts off their Summer League play. And be able to fully evaluate what is their best option. you talk about the draft happening on Thursday. You're talking about like by Monday you have to make a decision. I don't think that's enough time to make a fully informed decision. And so to me, this whole thing from the NCAA is like rushed right out there, trying to make themselves look better, and ultimately didn't really, take on its biggest issue the NCAA has, which is amateurism. You're adding agents into high schools, and that's the thing to me, is that you're not affecting just yourself. You're affecting high schoolers. So think of high school coaches now, right? Now you got to deal with agents along with college basketball coaches trying to come into your practices and watch and do all that. You're affecting that level of basketball. The NBA has said right now they're not going to take up the issue of the one and done. The earliest they'd probably get to it is 21, 22. So you're talking from now, we're talking 4 years where the NCAA could have kind of set on some of this stuff and like actually thought their way through it instead of just like blurting it out. But
I don't think they thought this through at all.
And I don't. But the last thing I want to get to is Stephen A's comments on this, because he kind of did have some interesting comments toward the effect of, was it the one and done rule and all of that. But do you have it pulled up there?
Yeah, I got it. All right, so his comments were, I think it should be either come out of high school to the NBA, or you must commit 2 years to college, period. Now, my thoughts on this is I think the 2-year thing for college is the greatest idea I've ever heard. I think, for me personally, I think it should be you got to go to college for 2 years anyways, no matter to get in the NBA. It's your ticket into the NBA. That's just my opinion. The high school part, I'm not key on. I feel like you're bringing NBA into high school. That's not something I care for much.
Well, but that's the way it used to be. A guy like LeBron James comes right out of high school. To me, and I'm not saying like everybody coming out of high school is going to be at that LeBron James talent level.
That's what I'm saying, though.
But, Anthony Davis, when he came out, wasn't quite at that level, obviously. But I think, to me, not only would it help the college game to do that 2 years, but at the same time, I think it would help the NBA game because and I say this because you'll get people who have been in college for 2 years if they choose not to go to the NBA right out of high school. Other than that, you'll get like the elite prospects straight out of high school, and they'll make that decision. So in some ways, you'll get a guy like maybe a Ben Simmons who could have come straight out, but at the same time, you're gonna, I think, have to in those, if you let them straight out of high school, you're gonna have to add parameters to it somehow, some way, because otherwise, every high school player will be trying to apply for the NBA draft.
See, that's the problem. Is I think I just don't want it to become money driven. I don't want people in high school to be like, I'm going to the NBA because heck, I want a freaking check right now.
But that's the way you do it in Major League Baseball. To me, like you can get drafted while you're in high school, right, and basically choose to not do it. That whole undrafted thing that we were just talking about with the NCAA rules. What about the dudes in the second round? Because they're not guaranteed a contract like the first rounders.
Exactly. There's just going to be people that are let down, unsuccessful. It's worthless. It's useless to me. I'm sorry.
Well, and that whole thing from the NCAA to me is useless. But the thing, for me, if you allow them to come out of high school, I think you need to have a few caveats. If you get drafted in the second round, you can choose not to go play, right? But then you go play for 2 years. Major League Baseball, if you choose not to accept that draft slot that you got drafted out of high school, right, you go play college baseball for a minimum of 3 years or until your age. Some are able to only play 2 years because of their age. But, then you do say, like, a minimum of 2 years. Like, that would be great. You can really develop. But at the same time, it is a balancing act, because if you think you have it, to me, you have to make that money jump, because one wrong step and your knee can be blown out and your career over. But at the same time, if you've gone to college, you have a start on getting an education and being able to further yourself and do better for yourself than you would if you maybe didn't have that education. I think the thing with Stephen A's comments, the thing that's not in there, and to me that has to happen for this one and done rule to even really go away, is the G League has to become a viable option. Agreed. You have to have the developmental type league, like Major League Baseball has their farm system. Every team has to have a minor league team, if you will, in the NBA. They have to have a G League team to be able to maybe take these high school players and slowly work them into it. So, to me, until that happens, we're obviously a long way away from this. But I think if you end the one and done, I think what you do is you say, okay, you can come out of high school, much like Stephen A. Smith said, and I do agree. You come out of high school, or you go at least 2 years, mandatory 2 years. Like, to me, that's the perfect scenario. But you're going to have to really tweak that and say, okay, how many can come out of high school? Let's say if you're going to the draft and 5 NBA teams, want to see you, then you can apply for the draft. If you only get 4, you need to go to college. Like, you'd have to work something out. But once again, until the G League gets itself where it's actually a feasible option, I think all this is just wasted air, coming from us. But a lot talked about here, a lot going on. NFL is back. College football right around the corner. You get a little bit of taste of college basketball here in August. Baseball starting to make the turn toward the postseason. And, a lot of things are happening now in the world of sports. But it's an exciting time. If you follow either Rylee and I, we are trying to get better and better at actually paying attention to Twitter and putting our thoughts out there a little bit more and more. But you can follow Rylee at Rylee_RD Sports. Make sure you spell it right. It's RYLEE. Follow me. It's at Dish_RD Sports. Follow the podcast page on Twitter or Facebook. You can just search at RD Sports, and you'll find us either way there. Make sure you go subscribe, like us, follow us, whatever you need to do to get this as it drops automatically. Leave a comment somewhere, rate, review it if you're on iTunes for us. Help us out a little bit. Whether you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment. If you all ever have any questions, want to get our thoughts, make sure to hit us up, Twitter or Facebook. With all that being said, and this episode coming to an end here, it's been a little bit of a longer one, but there's a lot to discuss. And with all that being said,
that'll do it for another episode of the R&D Sports Report.